heroic saves.
Outstanding point-blank save. You are denied.
Inter Miami Soccer is on ESPN 106.3. This is Pink Smoke, brought to you by PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865. Here's Mike Rizzo.
Welcome on in, folks, to Pink Smoke, where we talk everything Inter Miami. Our Inter Miami Herons recently missing out on a chance to catch some silverware. Inter Miami was in action against the Seattle Sounders in the Leagues Cup final. It would have been the second time in 3 years our Herons were able to attain victory and get that elusive Leagues Cup trophy. But the Sounders had different ideas. Seattle completely dominating the game, start to finish, winning 3-0 against our Herons. Couple of chances missed by Inter Miami players. The game was 1-0 for a really long time, and it really didn't get the lead didn't get busted open until about the 65th, 70th minute when a spot kick was awarded to Seattle. We'll go through the highlights here in just a second when we do a little Messi mania. But wanted to start off today, Inter Miami losers in that Leagues Cup, and now the focus is the MLS. And we're going to have all the MLS games right here on ESPN 106.3 at your disposal. And the good part is, even when, like, say, the Miami Hurricanes player, and we love the Hurricanes, we love our other partners, but if there are conflicting schedules, we'll be able to stream the game on the ESPN South Florida app, on our ESPN West Palm Play YouTube page, so you will always be able to find a home for Inter Miami football when you want to listen to the games. We are home of all your English games when it comes to Inter Miami. But I mentioned the Herons losing 3-0 in that Leagues Cup final. Lionel Messi played. Rodrigo De Paul played. It was truly a strong lineup from Coach Mascherano and the Herons. The Herons were able to beat Orlando City 3-1 in the semifinal a couple of Wednesdays back. But Inter Miami not able to get victory in Seattle. And Miami we really did a good job of dominating possession. And the Herons, that's what they do. They dominate possessions. They like to create chances. They like to be creative with the ball. But you had two big chances in the game, and that gets me into the PNC, our good friends at PNC, Little Messi Mania, where we go through all of the storylines with Inter Miami, everything Lionel Messi. Let's get into a Little Messi Mania presented by our great friends at PNC.
It's time for a little Messi Mania on Pink Smoke, presented by PNC Bank. The latest match results, highlights, and everything Messi starts now. Brought to you by PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865. Learn more at PNC.com. PNC Bank, National Association member FDIC.
Putting one behind the keeper takes more than talent. Sure, the pros make it look easy, but there's a whole lot of boring work behind it. Hours of drills, scrimmages, and dedication to the craft that ultimately pay off in a brilliant goal-scoring move. PNC Bank knows that it's the same with money. That's why they take a smart, steady, and, boring approach. So you can make brilliant money moves that help you score your own goals. And PNC Bank makes it easy and convenient to manage your money when and where it works for you, including with new branch locations opening across Miami. See how keeping your money boring can be the brilliant move for you. Visit pnc.com/brilliantly boring. PNC Bank, proud banking sponsor of Inter Miami CF radio broadcasts and Brilliantly Boring since 1865. The PNC Financial Services Group, Inc., all rights reserved, member FDIC. We appreciate our good friends at PNC sponsoring a little Messi Mania, and let's get right into the highlights. Leagues Cup final this past Sunday. The site, Seattle. Seattle was the hottest team in Leagues Cup, arguably the hottest team on this side of the continent. They were able to beat Cruz Azul 7-0 in a Phase 1 game. And once again, Phase 1 in Leagues Cup are the first three games that each team on the either Mexican side, the Liga MX side, or the American side, MLS, you play 3 games or 18 total teams, or excuse me, 36 total teams, 18 from each league, and each of those 18 teams leagues that got in and qualified for Leagues Cup play 3 Phase 1 games, and a lot of it comes down to goal differential, and Seattle made a huge statement when they beat Cruz Azul, a club who won CONCACAF Champions Cup. And listen, the Champions Cup, for those of you familiar with English football, it's Champions League basically on this side of the hemisphere. So Cruz Azul coming off winning one of the biggest trophies on this side of the hemisphere, losing 7-0 to Seattle. You knew Seattle meant business in this tournament. Now let's get to the highlights. It starts with a De Rosario goal from Roland. Roland had a big game for Seattle. He ended up with a goal and an assist. We'll listen to that goal a little later on in the show, but this was Osaze De Rosario, the young 24-year-old, finding the back of the net, courtesy of Alex Roldan, the El Salvadorian. Let's take a listen.
Rothrock across, and he picks out De Rosario, a headed goal. Inter Miami's defense allows De Rosario a free run to goal, and Rothrock put it on a platter. 1-0 Seattle in the 25th minute.
So that opened up the scoring in the match. That was in the 26th minute. Inter Miami behind the 8 ball pretty quick in this game. Now, it stayed that way until the 84th minute, believe it or not. I mentioned the game got busted open in the 65th. That was because of a lot of chances missed by Inter Miami. Now, Tadeo Allende, a young player for Inter Miami, in my opinion, one of the best attackers on Inter Miami when he's on a good day. The poor young man just did not have his best game and really had a wide open chance in front of net. He was one-on-one with the keeper, and he ultimately ended up sailing it. This one could have been tied 1-1 at the moment, but Allende not taking advantage of the opportunity.
Sends it to the penalty arc. Suarez onto Allende, and he absolutely chunked a shot wide. He had the goal wide open as Andrew Thomas has committed to ground, and Allende simply mishit it wide right. It should be 1-1, and Allende has his hands on his head in disbelief. That was the moment, and Inter Miami absolutely watched it go by the wayside. A true disaster. Oh no, it should easily be 1-1. How did Tadeo Allende miss that?
So that is the voice of the Inter Miami Herons, Ken LaVicka, and certainly not being able to put that behind the net really hurt Inter Miami in the game. Guys, I got to say, goals change games. It's very cliche, but it's also true. If you get in at that moment in the 60-odd whatever minute, gosh, it just changes the way Seattle plays. They get more uptight. Inter Miami gets some momentum, and you're able to start something, hopefully tying the game up. But you don't have that opportunity because Allende missed it. Now, Allende, let's give the young man some credit. Played pretty good throughout the game other than that. Couple of nice touches on the ball. Inter Miami did not, believe it or not, have any shots on target because of misses like Allende. And then even the best of all time, Lionel Messi, had a miss in this game as well.
7 yards out. Oh, Messi with a turn, and he somehow put it up over the crossbar. He was point blank with the keeper and couldn't keep it down. Oh, my. What a wonderful ball from Suarez, and Messi, 99 times out of 100 scores. That ball took a weird hop off the artificial surface, this unnatural soccer surface, and he sent it into the seats.
Yeah, so Lionel Messi even having a rough night there in Seattle. He was one-on-one with the keeper as well, and he sent it over net. And I just think, listen, we were hard on Allende. You got to be hard on Messi, too. He did not take advantage of an opportunity. It could have been tied 1-1, but instead, it is still 1-0, and Seattle was able to take advantage. I mentioned the 85th minute was when the goal happened, the PK goal, rather, the penalty kick goal, the spot kick. Alex Roland, in the 84th minute, knocked in a penalty kick. But here's how it sounded when Yannick Bright made a foul in Inter Miami's box, and the referee pointed to the spot.
Shot box, a great tackle by Bright, but he's called for a foul in the box, and Seattle's been awarded a penalty. And the card comes out, and Inter Miami, if Ustari can't stop this penalty, will not win a trophy on this Sunday night.
So it was 1-0 at that point, and Alex Rowland went to the spot very confidently.
He approaches the penalty with his right foot. Roldan scores into the right side of goal. And Seattle Sounders now up 2-0, and they are just over 6 minutes away from yet another trophy in franchise history. Inter Miami, shoulders slumped, look defeated on this Sunday night.
So heading into that, Seattle had won every major continental trophy in North America, Central America, and they were able to win this, and it really gave them all of the major trophies in North America and Central America. You know, the Champions Cup, the MLS Playoff Cup, the Supporter Shield. Leagues Cup is a newer-ish cup that started in 2023, so they needed one more piece of silverware to kind of complete the trophy case with all the important North American trophies, and they were able to do that in this game. Now, this was Rothrock, the right winger for Seattle. Paul Rothrock, the 26-year-old American. Believe it or not, it was Jersey night in Seattle. And Jersey night in the sense of if you brought in a Lionel Messi jersey, you could exchange it for a Paul Rothrock jersey. Now, I think that's a terrible trade, but he did manage to get into the back of the net on, I guess, what we're calling his Jersey night.
Back in Inter Miami is not going to win it back. Busquets, what was he doing? Rothrock scores from the right box outside the 6-yard box. Busquets flat-footed, just watch the ball roll by him. Rothrock slots it past Ustari. It's 3 for Seattle, and Seattle Sounders, your 2025 Leagues Cup champions.
And that one sealed the deal 3-0. Seattle beating our Herons in the match. Now, sadly, I wish the story ended there in this game. But after the game, there were fights. There was drama. Ken was on the call. I was back here at the City Place Studios, but Ken stayed on the call afterwards because a fight broke out. A fight broke out between Inter Miami and Seattle to the point where Maxi Falcone had a Seattle player in a headlock, a literal headlock, choking him out. There were Benjamin Kremoski was very animated, but the story was I almost said Sergio Busquets. I'm sorry, Sergio. The story was Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez was caught on film and on video and on the broadcast, whatever you want to call it. He spit on a Seattle staffer. Now, Suarez has been doing weird things. If you follow world football, folks, obviously you remember Suarez for biting ears, and he's spit on people before, but Suarez spit on a staffer. And the rumors is that Luis Suarez is probably going to be suspended. And let's be honest, he probably should. He probably should be suspended. That is unacceptable behavior. You can't spit on anything. I mean, I feel like spitting on something is the ultimate disrespect. Granted, I come from a Sicilian family. You cannot spit on somebody, folks. You can't spit on anything, let alone a person. So I tend to agree with Suarez possibly getting suspended. Dare I say, I want him to get suspended. But let's talk about this is going to put Inter Miami in a shoot. It would put Inter Miami in a pretty big shoot if Luis Suarez is suspended. Now, people are speculating that he'll get suspended for the rest of the MLS season. People are thinking that he could be suspended for a couple of games. The speculations are running wild. There's nothing confirmed. But I feel like Luis Suarez, it is definitely going to be suspended for a long time. I'll try to get something concrete, but as I'm seeing here, it's really just you're waiting on what the club is going to do, what maybe the MLS does. Now, the issue is this happened in Leagues Cup, which the Leagues Cup could technically suspend Luis Suarez. But listen, those games are over. We're not playing Leagues Cup games. First off, Inter Miami has to qualify for Leagues Cup, but you're not going to be playing Leagues Cup games until this time next year. So in order for in order for Suarez to be suspended in MLS play, it would have to come from Inter Miami. Inter Miami would have to come down on the suspension because it did not happen in MLS play. I can't make that clear enough. Technically, these are two MLS teams, but it wasn't an MLS game. It was a Leagues Cup game. So that's kind of your, I guess, deep dive into Luis Suarez. But people are expecting a lengthy suspension for him spitting on a Seattle staffer. And like I said, I wish that it ended after this Paul Rockruff goal.
Back in Inter Miami is not going to win it back. Busquets, what was he doing? Rothrock scores from the right box outside the 6-yard box. Busquets flat-footed, just watch the ball roll by him. Rothrock slots it past Ustari. It's 3 for Seattle, and Seattle Sounders, your 2025 Leagues Cup champions.
It didn't end there because of the fights and all that bad stuff, but we got MLS play coming up. We're going to be able to hear all the games right here on your home of English radio, ESPN 1063. Probably going to be without one of the best players on Inter Miami in Luis Suarez. Now, let's talk a little bit about what that suspension is going to do here, because Inter Miami, outside of Alan Abando, they don't have another striker on the roster. Now, Messi can play striker. Fafa Pico can't play striker, but Messi's better, in my opinion at least, when he's coming off the right wing or he's centralized as an attacking midfielder. I think Fafa is also better at coming out of the wing. And listen, I want to be able to play Alan Abando, the young 19-year-old striker, the Ecuadorian striker whose rights are owned by Atletico Madrid, the same team where Rodrigo de Paul came on over from. Madrid, one of the top teams in La Liga play. Not to get him confused with Real Madrid, folks. It's a different Madrid. It's Atletico Madrid. Similar to how there are two teams in Manchester and Manchester United and Manchester City. There are two teams in Real. But regardless, Abando, a big prospect who is expected to be able to play at a high level someday in the top flight of the Spanish league. He's been injured all year. So I think with Alan Abando and the injuries that he has, if Luis Suarez is suspended, the Herons are going to be light at the striker position. Could they possibly bring somebody in? Could they possibly get a player? We'll have to wait and see on that. But I would probably assume Messi would start up top. Rodrigo de Paul would probably be centralized as a cam, and you'd have to play things from there. You can play Segovia cam. You can do a lot of things with the lineup. But I tend to think that with the suspension and with what happened with Suarez, Inter Miami is going to suffer from it. And that's the worst part, because Inter Miami right now is competing for an MLS playoff berth, which, folks, pending DEFCON 5, and I'm knocking on every piece of wood here at the City Place Studios in the Anna Jar Levine Accident Attorney Studios at ESPN 1063. I'm knocking on everything that has wood that doesn't happen to Inter Miami, but something drastic and crazy on the MLS table would have to happen for Inter Miami to not make the playoffs. And I want to remind everybody, too, Inter Miami still has 3 games in hand on the MLS side of things, 4 technically with a couple of teams. There are a couple of teams that have played 29 games, like the Union, Cincinnati, Charlotte, and Nashville. Inter Miami's sitting at 25 games. So Inter Miami's going to have to make up a lot of these games coming up here pretty soon. I mean, if you look at Inter Miami's schedule, it's the international break. They're not playing for 10 days. They play Charlotte on Saturday the 13th. I'll actually be on the call for that live in Charlotte. And then they play on Wednesday. They play the Sounders in Miami. And gosh, you look at that Sounder game. The Seattle Sounders, you just lost to them 3-0 in Seattle for Leagues Cup. And the fight broke out. God, I hope Suarez doesn't play in that game, because it's going to be a little on the crazier end. But Inter Miami is going to be playing 2 games here a week until October 4th. So September 13th, September 16th, September 20th, September 24th, 27th, 30th. They have fixtures on all those days, which means they have 2 games a week, Wednesday and Saturday. And if Luis Suarez is going to be unavailable for a lot of those games, you're going to be down some men. I mean, there are going to be a lot of guys who are going to have to step up in that Inter Miami lineup in order to fill the void that is Suarez. Say what you want about Suarez, how he's a bad human being and whatever. He's a really good football player still. And listen, a good football player for MLS standards. And You look at the goal scoring lists, he's top 10 still this year in goals scored in the MLS. It would be a big miss. It really would be a big miss for Inter Miami. I'm not sitting here and saying he shouldn't be suspended. Remember, I said I think he should be suspended for a couple of games. You at least should suspend him for 3 games. All right, if not all of the rest of the MLS games, and bring him back for the playoffs, but the Charlotte game, the Seattle game, and DC United, I'd probably say suspend him for 3 games, and I'd be okay with that. 888-760-3776 is that number to call on in if you want to get involved on a little football talk here on a rainy Wednesday late afternoon. We're almost transitioning into the evening, but it's a rainy day here downtown West Palm Beach, and we're talking Luis Suarez spitting on a human. And I mentioned he's bitten ears before. He's done crazier things, believe it or not, on the international side of things for Uruguay. And he's done crazier things for Barcelona way back in the day. Now, him and Messi, truly dynamic on the pitch together, but sometimes the guy just cannot get out of his own way, and this was one of those situations where he was spitting on another human being, a Seattle staffer. Let's talk a little bit more before we take our first time out about the schedule coming up for Inter. I mentioned that they're going to be having to play 2 games a week here for the next couple of weeks, but they're going to be tougher opponents too. Charlotte right now, with the games in hand and the games that Charlotte has played, they have a better record than Inter Miami on that Eastern Conference table. Charlotte's sitting in 3rd place with 50 points. They've played 29 games, and Charlotte has won 5 games in a row. This is a team that's featured with Wilfried Zaha. Zaha, former Manchester United player, former Galatasaray player, and most famously, he played for Crystal Palace for many years and was a centurion there in Palace. So Wilfried Zaha, a very dangerous player. They got Ajiman as well, the big striker up top who was featured in Mauricio Pochettino's CONCACAF Gold Cup action team. Let's rewind back to the Gold Cup when Team USA was playing in that. Ajiman was the big striker up top for Team USA, had a couple of goals in the competition, played very well. Charlotte, always a solid team. Without Suarez, little worried. Could be a little worrying for that fixture without Luis Suarez, without your proper striker up top. You always have a chance with Lionel Messi and company and the lineup that Inter Miami has. But Charlotte is dangerous, and they're not a team to be trifled with, and that is the team Inter Miami is going to be taking on coming up on that September 13th, where they will most likely be without Luis Suarez, and it'll be their first fixture after the international break. Now, Inter Miami will be taking on the Sounders at Chase Stadium September 16th, that following Wednesday. I mentioned I hope Suarez isn't playing, yada, 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 but Seattle, a dominant team, man. They have a very impressive attack with De Rosario at striker, Rothrock at right wing, Jesus Ferreira, the longtime United States men's national team player playing attacking mid, that number 10 role. False 9. I call it more of a false 9. Who am I kidding? Probably more of a false 9 role than a 10. And then coming off of the left side is De La Pedro, who was one of the MVPs during that Leagues Cup run for Seattle. He had the goal of the tournament, certainly, for Seattle in that. He really, folks, if you're missing it, search the De La Pedro goal for the Seattle Sounders. Leagues Cup goal, De La Pedro. It'll come right up. And he really had a hell of a strike, and that is Pedro de la Vega. Excuse me, Pedro de la Vega, not De La Pedro de la Vega. Got his first name and last name mixed up. But de la Vega had the goal of the tournament on that Leagues Cup side. Gave great service throughout the game against Inter Miami. Clocked in at a 7.5 MR match rating on FOTMob. He did get taken off in the 61st minute, though, in the game. But regardless, Seattle, tough team. It's one of the first 2 fixtures coming up for Inter Miami post that international break. Now, things do get a little easier with DC United. I say that, but Inter Miami did manage to drop points against DC United on the road. They didn't get the full 3. They only got the 1 point. Now, it was a handball. I blame the officiating more than anything in that game. It was a handball late in the 90th minute. I tend to blame the officiating, but DC United coming to Chase Stadium, I expect a full lineup to be playing. Now, Messi did not play in that game where they tied DC United in this nation's capital. But I expect Messi to be playing in a lot of these games, folks, now, because this is really the only competition. The MLS is the only competition left on the Inter Miami season. We're getting close to the end of the year. October 4th, as I said, is the last MLS fixture for Inter Miami, or apologies, October 18th. October 18th. So we're just under a month, just about a month and 2 weeks from the end of the MLS season. But every game matters, man, when you're fighting for a spot in the playoffs. You want to be top four. If you're top four on the MLS side, there's the Eastern Conference and a Western Conference. If you're top four in the East or Western Conference, you will get home field in your first fixture. So keep that in mind. And I think that's what Inter Miami at this point, at where they're at this season, that's what they want to go for. Let's take our first time out of the program. This is Pink Smoke, where we talk everything Inter Miami and everything Herons, everything Messi. That was Messi Mania, presented by our great friends at PNC, where we go through all the big storylines. We go through all the highlights from recent fixtures and everything Lionel Messi. Taking the time out, coming right back. Pink Smoke, Mike Rizzo, live at the City Place Studios on ESPN 106.3.
Calling all sports fans, grab your MVP card and head to Duffy's, where you can catch all of the action. Not an MVP? Sign up for free and start earning rewards today. Duffy's is voted the best sports grill year after year with their award-winning burgers and wings. Don't forget about Duffy's famous 2-for-1 drinks all day, every day. And with over 80 TVs in every location, you'll never miss a minute of the game. Visit Duffy'sMVP.com to learn more. Duffy's, our game is always on.
Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, proudly representing the residents of South Florida since 1985, and proud supporter of Inter Miami on ESPN West Palm. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath has attorneys across South Florida ready to fight for your rights. They've recovered billions for their clients, and you won't pay anything unless you win your case. If you have been injured, call the attorneys at Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, 561-867-4117, or online at foryourrights.com. Main office in West Palm Beach.
Kaiser University's flagship campus. The 100-acre residential campus at 2600 North Military Trail in West Palm Beach extends Kaiser University's educational offerings to over 100 degrees. Kaiser University also has an athletic program with 26 national championships, including back-to-back-to-back lacrosse titles, and they just won their first ever national championship for men's tennis. Visit KUSeahawks.com for the latest on the championship flagship campus of Kaiser University.
The season is kicking off. Keep your home in the win column with EDS Air Conditioning. Right now, qualified customers can score 0% interest for 60 months on a brand new AC. Hot streaks belong on the field, not in your living room. With over 800 Google reviews and a 4.8-star rating, EDS is trusted as the MVP, and it has been since 2006. Visit EDSIsyes.com today. Kick off your game day comfort and don't sweat the small stuff.
Business owners, are your employees driving you nuts? Is money tight? Or have you just poured your heart and soul into your business and now it's time to retire and just relax? At Transworld Business Advisors, they have buyers from all over the world ready to buy your business now. Call for a confidential conversation about your business's current value. 561-203-5121. That's 561-203-5121, or visit tworld.com today.
You lather, rinse, moisturize, and repeat. At this point, you're practically training for the Shower Olympics. But here's the twist. It's not your shampoo's fault, it's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs your pores and dries out your hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower system today for only $79 a month. Visit Culligan.com for more information, or just say,
"Hey, Culligan man!"
Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, proudly representing the residents of South Florida since 1985, and proud supporter of Inter Miami on ESPN West Palm. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath has attorneys across South Florida ready to fight for your rights. They've recovered billions for their clients, and you won't pay anything unless you win your case. If you have been injured, call the attorneys at Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, 561-867-4117, or online at foryourrights.com. Main office in West Palm Beach.
Calling all sports fans, grab your MVP card and head to Duffy's where you can catch all of the action. Not an MVP? Sign up for free and start earning rewards today. Duffy's is voted the best sports grill year after year with their award-winning burgers and wings. Don't forget about Duffy's famous 2-for-1 drinks all day, every day. And with over 80 TVs in every location, you'll never miss a minute of the game. Visit Duffy'sMVP.com to learn more. Duffy's, our game is always on.
Kaiser University's flagship campus. The 100-acre residential campus at 2600 North Military Trail in West Palm Beach extends Kaiser University's educational offerings to over 100 degrees. Kaiser University also has an athletic program with 26 national championships, including back-to-back-to-back lacrosse titles, and they just won their first ever national championship for men's tennis. Visit KUSeahawks.com for the latest on the championship flagship campus of Kaiser University.
This is Pink Smoke, brought to you by PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865. Here's Mike Rizzo.
Well, the Inter Miami Herons currently sitting in sixth place on the table. Sixth place on that MLS table. Now, the good news, they have to make up about 5 games. It's 4, folks. I'm doing a bit of trolling here on Pink Smoke. We are live from the City Place Studios down here in downtown West Palm Beach. Rainy Wednesday in West Palm. But Inter Miami's sitting in 6th place on the Eastern Conference table. Once again, keep in mind, the top 4 teams get home playoff games in the MLS. But Inter Miami's sitting in 6th place with 25 games played. The top 4 have all played 29 games. Inter Miami has 46 points. The Philadelphia Union have 57. Hands up in the chat if you're a public school kid. My hand is up. According to me, 4 times 3 is 12. And if you add 46 and 12, it's 58. And that would be enough points to be the top team in the Eastern Conference. And at that point, too, guys, it would be the top team in the MLS. Now, Inter Miami won the Supporters' Shield last year, but I do think at this point in the season, you might as well just go for it again. You didn't win Champions Cup. You didn't win Leagues Cup. You have no silverware to show for so far this year. You might as well try to win the Leagues Cup again coming up this year. But that's where Inter Miami sits. Later on in the show, we'll continue to go through the schedule. I got to do the injury report, though, presented by our good friends at Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath. They've been they've been representing injured people and their families for over 35 years here in South Florida. Visit foryourrights.com. That is foryourrights.com. Let's do our injury report.
Now it's time for the Inter Miami Injury Report, presented by Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath.
And now a fight for it. Won right back by Inter Miami.
Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath, representing injured people and their families for more than 35 years. Visit foryourrights.com.
That is foryourrights.com. Once again, foryourrights.com for more information about our great friends at Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Frauenrath, representing injured people and their families for 35 years. One player on the injury report, and that is Alan Abando. What stinks about that as well is what we talked about in the first segment. Luis Suarez most likely going to be missing time because he spit on another human being. No, folks, you did not hear me wrong. He spit on another human being. So I'm assuming Inter Miami is going to come down for a suspension for Suarez. Bad news is Suarez's replacement is dealing with a hamstring, and he is not expected back earliest late September. He cannot get on the field. And gosh, I love Abando as a player. Kind of a poacher. Not going to do much finesse shots. Not going to do much footwork with the football. But man, he's got a heck of a power shot. And he's great in the air. His headers on goal, great. Alan Abando, I think, is the real deal. I do. He's a young player who I think has all the talent in the world. The issue is that he cannot get on the field for Inter Miami right now. And I think that's what Inter Miami is going to struggle with as they take on good teams in the next 2 fixtures, like Charlotte and Seattle. You're going to have to start the great one up top. You're going to have to start Messi up top. Segovia's been great in the middle. Take Fafa Pico, put him off the left, and probably bring Allende off the right. God, I hope Allende find his form soon, folks. Tadio Allende was one of the more fun instant offense players to start the season. And it's just gone so far down the wayside as of late. Maybe you bring Allende off the bench, get him some confidence as a super sub. But the lineup gets tricky. The big point I'm trying to make, the lineup gets tricky with Alan Abando still on the injury list, presented by our good friends at Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath. Now, we got 2 weeks, got about a week and 3 days until Inter Miami plays. Got 10 days. Charlotte has 3 players on their injury report. Once again, it's the international break where all these players go to their respectable international teams if they are picked by the international manager for their said country. For the rest of the players, they get a timeout. But Charlotte has 3 players on their injury report. Harry Toffolo, not a starter. Pep Beal, who is a starter. Pep Beal, one of the better midfielders on loan from Charlotte. He plays central midfielder. He'd also come off of the right, but he really is a distributing midfielder. He's expected back mid-September, so yeah. The 13th is the next fixture. September 13th, maybe Pep Beal is ready for the fixture against Inter Miami. We'll have to wait and see. And then another non-starter, Suleiman Doumbia. He's dealing with a hamstring as well and is doubtful. But that is your injury report presented by Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, who have been representing injured people and their families for 35 years. Visit foryourrights.com. That is foryourrights.com. We appreciate our good friends at Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath. Let's continue to take a look at that Inter Miami schedule. Once again, Inter Miami's final game coming up October 18th. We're about a month and 15 days away from the end of the MLS season. About a month and a half, really. Einstein over here, a month and 15 days. Month and a half left of MLS action. I mentioned that Inter Miami has to make up 4 games on that schedule. But let's continue to look at that schedule and who Inter Miami will be facing off against. I mentioned Charlotte. I mentioned Seattle, DC United. Now, another tough opponent on September the 24th, and that is NYC FC. Let's rewind to match week 1. And it was the first game of the season at Chase Stadium. NYC FC came in Inter Miami and nicked a draw from the Herons. That was the game where Toto Aviles famously scored a goal to begin the game. And then Aviles picked up the red card about 5 minutes later in the defensive box. And to be honest, Aviles has dealt with card issues. I feel like that's why he's not one of the go-to center backs for Javier Mascherano, gaffer for Inter Miami. I feel like that's why he's not one of the center backs that is consistently featured on a game in and game out basis, is because of those cards and because of those possibly being sent off with a red. You hate playing with 10 men. Oh God, it's the worst. Nothing worse than getting an early red card. And I feel like that's why Coach Mascherano has not featured Toto Aviles in a couple of lineups. But NYCFC and Inter Miami drew the last time they played. That game will be in New York as well, coming up on September the 24th. Now, listen, I still think New York in September, 65, 70 degrees, honestly, perfect weather. The fall in the East and in the Midwest is the best time. The weather really doesn't start to change until late October. I always say my birthday's October 30th. The weather goes to you-know-what. Almost said a word. The weather goes to you-know-what on my birthday. After that, it's all done. Get ready, get the snow jackets out, and be ready for about 15 degrees. But in September, New York, weather's going to be great. Don't have to worry about that. Toronto is the next fixture after that, September the 27th. Inter Miami will host Chicago in South Florida. They'll host New England. And then 2 more fixtures after that, Inter Miami and Atlanta United in Chase Stadium. And then to end the year on October 18th, Inter Miami will go to Nashville SC. Inter Miami got the better of Nashville in their first fixture. Now, teams on Inter Miami's schedule that they've played. Charlotte, They played and won in Chase Stadium. They were down to 10 men. Seattle, it's the first time they're playing Seattle. They've not played Seattle yet this year. This is the first and only fixture against the Sounders. DC United, they got a draw against DC United in DC. Messi didn't play. Starters came on at about the 65th minute. Mascherano tried to save a win. He could not. So drew against DC United. Drew against NYCFC. I believe a win against Toronto. I want to double check. Yeah, no, it was a win against Toronto. I was thinking of the Dallas game where they blew a 3-1 lead, but Inter Miami did win that fixture. So continuing on the list of teams that Inter Miami has played, it's been 4 teams already. So far, we are at 2 draws and 2 wins. Inter Miami beat New England. They beat Atlanta. They beat Nashville SC. Continuing on that's it. Okay, that's it. We're done. 3 wins, 2 draws. 3 wins, 2 draws, and 1 team not played against. That's the next and last couple of fixtures. Let's make sure my public school math is right. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 9 fixtures left. Win, haven't played, tie, win, or no, they tied Chicago. God almighty. So we're at 3 ties, win against New England, win against Atlanta. So 5 and 3. Now 3 draws. So 5 wins, 3 draws, and 1 not played. 5 wins, 3 draws, 1 not played. And obviously if Inter Miami does that, I think they position themselves for a good chance to possibly win a Supporter Shield and get that first overall seed in the Eastern Conference. Let's remember, Inter Miami is 4 games behind the leader. If they get 12 points, that ties them with the leader. I'm expecting Philadelphia and these teams that are at the top, like FC Cincinnati and Nashville, I'm expecting these teams to not win every game. Granted, I could be wrong. Maybe these teams go on an incredible run. But I think if Inter Miami, if they win 5 of their last 9, I think that positions themselves for a chance to get that top seed. I think it does. Remember, they need 12 to get to the same point total, or rather to get above them. And then if they win 2 more games after that, I think they're going to be solid. This is Pink Smoke, folks, where we talk everything Inter Miami, everything Messi related. We're going through the final 9 games of the MLS season with the Herons. Once again, Charlotte, Seattle, DC United, NYCFC, Toronto, Chicago, New England, Atlanta, and Nashville. We know how football works. They're probably not going to win every single fixture, match in and match out. But I do expect Inter Miami to win at least 5 or 6 of their final 9 matchups. And even if they do nick a couple of draws, I think they'll be set up. Let's take our final time out of the program. When we come back, we'll go around the MLS. We'll continue to look at a couple of storylines that are happening on the MLS season. We'll look at the Western Conference. We'll update you again on what's happening in the Eastern Conference with our Inter Miami Herons. We appreciate our good friends at Lytle Ryder Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath for sponsoring the injury report. Once again, Alan Abando, the only player on Inter Miami's injury report. But the issue with that is Luis Suarez was caught spitting on another human being. You heard that right. And if you're just joining us here on Pink Smoke, star MLS striker, Luis Suarez, former Barcelona great, former Liverpool great. He got caught on camera after the game spitting on a Seattle Sounder staffer. And I believe personally that Inter Miami is at least going to suspend Luis Suarez for the first 3 games after the international break. I really do. I think they at least have to suspend him 3 games. This is my opinion. You can't spit on another human being. Spitting is the ultimate disrespect, especially with my culture, folks coming from a Sicilian background. You cannot spit on another human being. That's like the ultimate slight you could do. And it's, take it past my culture and whatever. Any average human and any good human being knows you can't spit on another person. But I digress. Abando, the only one on the injury report, and it stinks because he's the backup striker to Luis Suarez, who's probably going to be suspended. Final timeout. When we come back around the MLS, you're listening to Pink Smoke.
Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, proudly representing the residents of South Florida since 1985, and proud supporter of Inter Miami on ESPN West Palm. Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath has attorneys across South Florida ready to fight for your rights. They've recovered billions for their clients, and you won't pay anything unless you win your case. If you have been injured, call the attorneys at Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath, 561-867-4117, or online at foryourrights.com. Main office in West Palm Beach.
The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. The next chapter of Audi is here. Get exceptional offers at your local Audi dealer.
PNC Bank salutes you, Soccer on the Radio listener. While others will just read about the match, you're laser focused on every detail. At PNC Bank, we get it. We're all in on helping you make smart money moves and score your financial goals. See how at pnc.com/brilliantlyboring. PNC Bank, proud banking sponsor of Inter Miami CF radio broadcasts and Brilliantly Boring since 1865. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC.
Hey, Steph Prince here, General Manager of ESPN West Palm, to tell you about a team that has meant a lot to me and this community for a long time. Bob and the team at Bradley Heating and Air Conditioning have been helping me stay cool for years, whether at home or in the office. And living in South Florida with 3 kids, I don't know what I'd do without them. Family owned and operated, serving Royal Palm Beach and beyond since 1980. Let the knowledgeable and trained team at Bradley help you with your residential and commercial needs, installation, repair, seasonal maintenance, upgrades of all makes and styles and models of HVAC equipment, and so much more. Bradley Heating and Air Conditioning does things right the first time and makes the process smooth, stress-free, and most importantly, keeps you cool. Give them a call at 561-793-7497. That's 561-793-7497 or bradleyair.com. Any need, big or small, trust the amazing team at Bradley Heating and Air Conditioning.
Business owners, are your employees driving you nuts? Is money tight? Or have you just poured your heart and soul into your business and now it's time to retire and just relax? At Transworld Business Advisors, they have buyers from all over the world ready to buy your business now. Call for a confidential conversation about your business's current value. 561-203-5121. That's 561-203-5121 or visit tworld.com today.
Kaiser University's flagship campus. The 100-acre residential campus at 2600 North Military Trail in West Palm Beach extends Kaiser University's educational offerings to over 100 degrees. Kaiser University also has an athletic program with 26 national championships, including back-to-back-to-back lacrosse titles, and they just won their first ever national championship for men's tennis. Visit KUCHawks.com for the latest on the championship flagship campus of Kaiser University.
You lather, rinse, moisturize, and repeat. At this point, you're practically training for the Shower Olympics. But here's the twist. It's not your shampoo's fault, it's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs your pores and dries out your hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower system today for only $79 a month. Visit Culligan.com for more information or just say,
"Hey, Culligan man!"
Business owners, are your employees driving you nuts? Is money tight? Or have you just poured your heart and soul into your business and now it's time to retire and just relax? At Transworld Business Advisors, they have buyers from all over the world ready to buy your business now. Call for a confidential conversation about your business's current value. 561-203-5121. That's 561-203-5121 or visit tworld.com today.
This is Pink Smoke, brought to you by PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865. Here's Mike Rizzo.
Our final segment of Pink Smoke. 888-760-3776, that number to call on in if you want to chat a little football. Let's go around the MLS, presented by our good friends at Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. That 2025 Q6 e-tron is calling your name, featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi technology. It's not just a new electric vehicle, it's a new way to experience driving. The fully electric Q6 e-tron, the next chapter of Audi, is here. Test drive the new 2025 Audi at the Q6 e-tron specifically at your local South Florida Audi dealer, or visit AudiUSA.com to learn more. That's AudiUSA.com to learn more. That is that beautiful Audi Q6 e-tron. And folks, I'm looking at a picture of this Q6 e-tron. Talk about pulling into the lot down at Chase Stadium in style. It's with that brand new Audi Q6 e-tron. Around the MLS, though, where we talk about all the big stories happening around Major League Soccer. Obviously, with it being international break, certainly not a lot to kind of dive into as far as on-the-pitch action. But we can kind of take a look and see who the proper playoff teams are probably going to be coming up for the MLS playoffs. Now, I wanted to start on the Western side because we've talked a lot about the Eastern Conference and what is going on with Philadelphia at the top, Cincinnati, Charlotte, Nashville, Orlando, and our Herons. But on the Western side of things, San Diego is the number one team right now. They would have the first round bye on the Western Conference side. They have 56 points. There are 17 wins and 7 losses. They have 5 draws as well. So 17 wins, 5 draws, 7 losses with 56 points. They have been a surprise team. Minnesota United has been a surprise team as well, 51 points. Vancouver, a surprise team, 49 points. So teams like the Galaxy, LAFC, Seattle, Portland, these were the teams that were expected to be high up in the top 3, in the top 4 on the Western Conference table. But that has not been the case this year. San Diego, Minnesota, and Vancouver have been thorns in the sides of the quote-unquote bigger Western Conference clubs in Seattle, LAFC, and the Galaxy. We'll get to the Galaxy in a second because they're a disgrace. But LAFC sitting in 5, Seattle sitting in 4. I mentioned that Seattle is the second fixture post international break for the Inter Miami Herons. Seattle's coming off of that Leagues Cup championship, which they beat our Inter Miami Herons in Seattle. But Seattle, 44 points in 4th. And then 5th through 9, LAFC, Portland, Austin, Colorado, and San Jose. Those are the teams right now that are in the playoffs for the Western Conference side. The Houston Dynamo are knocking on the door. They're 3 points behind San Jose. The Dynamo, 9 wins, 14 losses, comparatively to San Jose's 8 wins and 12 losses. But the draws have really kind of kicked in for San Jose to be that last team in. They have 8 draws. So San Jose, a team who was really higher on that Western Conference table earlier on in the year, they find themselves on the last spot of the Western Conference table in the MLS playoffs. Now, the LA Galaxy, folks, they won the MLS last year. You know, when I say they won the MLS playoffs, they won the playoffs. It's just like the NFL. You know, MLS soccer is just like the NFL. But in the MLS, they do crown a regular season champion with the Supporters Shield. Inter Miami, by the way, won the Supporters Shield last year. They broke the MLS record of 73 points. They had 73 points in one season. No MLS team has ever done that. And in world football, folks, usually who's at the top of the table at the end of the year, that's who the league's winner is. That's how it is in the Premier League, in La Liga, Bundesliga, Liga in France. You know, it's how these leagues are. But we're Americans, and apparently we need playoffs. So the LA Galaxy were not Supporters Shield champions like our Herons, but they won the MLS playoffs. You want to know where they're sitting at right now? Dead last. They are the worst team in the MLS. They went from winning a championship to being the worst team in the MLS. Pretty crazy stuff. The Galaxy sitting with 19 points on the table. 19 points on the table. Unacceptable for a team like the Galaxy and really what they're made of. Now, the Galaxy did win their first MLS fixture back in August 23rd for the first time in months. So Galaxy playing a lot better as of late. They made it to the semifinal of Leagues Cup, but still a very shameful performance as far as the Galaxy as a club for them. I mean, they're really usually a classy, I guess classy is the wrong word. They're usually a really good club on the Western Conference side. It has not been there this year. Once again, the Eastern Conference side, we talked a lot about this throughout the show. Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Charlotte, and Nashville. Those are your top 4 teams on the Eastern Conference side. The Union leading the way. Orlando sitting at 5. Our Inter Miami Herons sitting at 6. Columbus at 7. NYCFC at 8. And the New York Red Bulls at 9. Chicago, the Chicago Fire knocking on the door as well with 39 points. 1 point separates Chicago and the Red Bulls for the final playoff spot on the Eastern side. Folks, you hear that music, that means it's time for me to go. Sometimes friends have to go away, but a part of them stays with you forever. Remember that in this life. Luis Suarez probably getting suspended. His backup, Alan Abando, still injured. Word is he's expected back late September. International duty, Lionel Messi will be facing off against Venezuela in Argentina later on this week as well. So a lot of stuff happening with our Herons. This has been Pink Smoke on ESPN 106.3.